Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kenal Lewis, and today I'm going to show you how to create this creative branding t-shirt design. And I will be using this original pen and ink drawing which I created. And if you are interested in seeing a tutorial on the exact process where I took the sketch to the final pen and ink drawing, I'll include a video in the description you can go check out and see the entire process from beginning to the end. Now let's get into the actual design tutorial. Once you've photographed your drawing or scanned it, which I prefer to scan because with the photographing the artwork, you have to make sure that it's not too reflective, your light's adjusted properly, or if you're shooting during the day, you have good natural light to where it doesn't create this gradient of shadow. And I'm like looking at this image, you can kind of see what I'm referring to. So if you're seeing right here, it's a lot darker than it is here. So this is part of what comes with taking a picture of artwork versus scanning it. If it wasn't a scanner, I wouldn't have this issue right here. For the purpose of this video, my scanner is not large enough, so I ended up photographing it. And I'm going to show you how I clean it up. I'm going to create a new Photoshop file, and I am going to make sure it's 9 by 12 and 300 ppi or dpi. And then I'm going to drag and drop this heart over it. This is all going to be done using a PC. I have a gamer PC and I prefer to use it over the Mac. It's just because I am a lot more comfortable with it. But if you're on Mac and you're used to Photoshop, you should know the keyboard shortcuts or learn it. You can Google it. All right, so I'm gonna hit Control and I'm going to merge these two. Now this is destructive, but I really don't care because of what I'm about to do. I'm also going to add a levels adjustment layer. I'm going to increase the highlights, and as you can see, it's already changing how it looks. And I'm also going to increase the dark tones in the drawing. And if I turn it off, you can sort of see the difference. If you're not able to see the difference, you might need to turn on the highest resolution setting on YouTube so you can sort of see the adjustments. Once I have these done, I'm going to also merge these. I'm going to duplicate this layer by hitting Alt and clicking and dragging, and it's going to copy it. So it's going to create a copy. What I'm also going to do is hit the O button, which is going to give me a dodge filter. If it gives you something else, it might be like a hand. And if you look over here in the left menu, you'll see like the burn tool. In order to get the dodge tool, I'm gonna hit Shift and I'm gonna click on O, and it's gonna give me this like magnifying glass, which is the dodge tool. And the dodge tool, as you can see in the preview, is going to lighten anything that I use it over. There's this level of exposure which is at 15. Yours might be at 50, it might be at 100. I think the default is at 50. I like to turn it down to 15 and select midtones, make sure it's not shadows or highlights. And then I'm going to click the close bracket, and it should increase my brush size. If it's not doing it, you might need to click on outside of the workspace and then try it, and it should increase your brush size. What I'm going to do is dodge this area right here. I'm going to leave this area because it's already light, but I just want to sort of make this lighter over here. It doesn't need to be 100%, just enough to where it's not so much shadows and dark spots in those areas. Even if you get over the drawing a little bit, it's okay. So I'm going to do that. Once you finish dodging the darker area, and let's zoom in a little bit. Yep, there you go. And I'm gonna zoom back out. So now that I have this layer, which is very clean, right? I am going to attempt to turn this into a vector with some of the controls that Illustrator provides you. So in this tutorial, you will need both Photoshop and Illustrator. We're going to go over to Illustrator. We're going to take this and turn it into a vector file. And then we're going to come back to Photoshop and we're going to do the coloring in Photoshop. I could stay in Illustrator, but I prefer to come to Photoshop because again, just preference. I'm a lot more comfortable with it, and I believe it's a lot faster. That's another reason as well. Okay, I'm going to open Illustrator, and I have my brand logo and colors already open in a specific file. You can use coolers or coolars. I don't know how to pronounce this. If someone does, please let me know in the comments. Or make a video and tag me to it. Just on how to pronounce this word right here. Colors, coolers. This is a great website to come to look at color combinations. You can actually click on the search tab and then it'll give you different colors you can choose from, or even words to describe them, or if you're looking for gradients, rainbow, pastel, vintage, and so on. Maybe spring, sunset, summer, winter. Let's click on winter just to see, a lot of cool tones, which makes sense. And some of them are a bit more, how would I say, less saturated. And then some of them are a bit stronger contrast and value and tone. So yeah. So this is an excellent reference that you can bookmark and save. You can create an account. I don't have one. I usually just come in here, and if I need to find the color combinations that I need to, the cool thing about this website is it allows you to just click and copy to the clipboard your color codes. And these are the color codes you're going to be able to input into Photoshop or Illustrator to automatically change the colors or the exact tones to match what you're looking to accomplish. Another website that you can also use to sample colors or get ideas for color combinations is colorhunt.co. You can also probably just search Google Color Hunt, and this one will also come up. And it's similar to the other one where it has all these different descriptions like earth tones, vintage, pastel, and then winter again. And you'll have similar, maybe different options as well. And these are also voted on. So you can also see based on popularity what people are favoring versus what people or at least find attractive, I would say. And that can help you with your decision and choice if you're having a hard time figuring out what color palettes you want to choose. For me, it's going to be my brand's color scheme, but this is also at your disposal and an excellent tool that you can use for color suggestions and options. Now I'm going to open my art file. I'm going to open Illustrator and open the art file, and also make sure that the workspace is to the same measurement. So I'm going to make sure type 9 inches by 12 inches. And it will automatically convert it to points. And then there's a way for you to change the document to also make sure that it's in inches, and it'll show you the measurements at the top in inches. So, and that's in the properties tab. If your properties tab is not showing, you might need to reset your workspace. So I usually use the essential or painting or printing and proofing. But for this example, we're going to use the essential classic. I'm going to reset it, and it should give you the properties option there. And it might be collapsed. If it's collapsed, you can open it up. All right. If you need a tutorial in Illustrator, YouTube University is abundant with them. So just go to YouTube and search Illustrator beginning tutorials. All right. So I'm going to drag this in the center. You can also click on it, and on the align tab, you can make sure that you're aligned to the artboard, and you can center it this way. Now, once I have this selected, I do have some presets saved where I can image trace it, and it's pretty accurate. But we're going to come here, we're going to left click on the drop down arrow next to the image trace, and we're going to click on black and white logo. That should be default for you. Again, as you can see, I have some other alternative options. We're going to click on black and white logo, and it's going to convert it into a vector. Now, some of it's lost some of the detail. We're going to come in here and fix that. We're going to go to the image trace panel. Should look like a piece of paper with like some lines and dots on them. Then it should bring up this image trace options. Here is where we're going to click on the advanced tab, and we're going to increase the threshold maybe to 200. Let's see what happens. So it's going to bring back some of those details, but now it's a little chunky as far as some of those details are also lost. We're going to increase the path. So now it's cleaning up a little bit, but it's also kind of fuzzy, as you can see, which it's picking up those imperfections that are in my drawings created by hand. So we're going to bring this down a little bit. Let's bring it down to, let's just change this number to 75%. Hit tab. Now it's smooth again. Awesome. Okay. And then we're going to decrease the corners to 0. I can't tell exactly what that did. Let's bring it up to 100. Let's see. So it's very subtle, but there is a change happening also in the details. I think with it 0, like the corners are not as calculated because this is recalculating the image in vector to produce the artwork the way it needs to. Noise is at 25 pixels. Let's bring this up to 80. So much. Let's bring it down to maybe 10. Yes. I think I'm liking this. Let's bring it down even more. Let's take it down to 5. And I think we'll be good to go. Okay, so now this is a vectorized version of the drawing that I created earlier, which we ended up cleaning in Photoshop before bringing it in here. I'm pretty happy with this, and this is what I'm going to use to color around. So now once I have this adjusted, you can also save your presets. I already have presets already made that I've saved, which would be available in custom presets right here, like the black and white logo or logo drawing refined. That's one of my ones that I have, or line art. If you had something that's in color that you wanted to vectorize, it gets a bit more complicated with the color. You might not necessarily want to use this method. You might want to redraw it and then create the color versions on different layers. Maybe that'll be another video I do later on. But let's close this. And we're not done. So right now it's all as one image. It is vectorized, but we need to expand it so it could break it up. So now that we've expanded it, we're going to, it's also grouped everything together. So it's all still locked together. You're going to right click and ungroup. And once you've ungrouped it, you can then use the wand, the magic wand, which the keyboard shortcut is Y. You can select the white areas and delete. Now, what happened? Let's select this entire thing and hit Control G to group. And if you move it over here, you'll see exactly what happened. So it got rid of all of the white that was a part of the drawing. I'm going to move it back in here, center it. And then this is going to be the vector file that we import into Photoshop as a transparent PNG, and then we're going to start adding colors. Now with Photoshop open, what I'm going to do is bring in the hard contour AI file that I created from Illustrator. Just by double clicking it, and then it's going to give you all these options. You want to import it as a page, as an image. Let's do page. Make sure this is a 300 resolution. And let's check this. Inches is going to be fine. Make sure color mode is in RGB. Some printers may require that you do CMYK. You'll rarely use lab or grayscale unless you're doing something that you want to be in grayscale, black and white. But RGB or CMYK, let's stick to RGB, and we're going to click open. It's going to create a whole open file with the artwork on there. What we're going to do is hit Control Alt C, and we're going to adjust the canvas numbers. We're going to switch from pixels to inches. Make sure the width is 9, the height is 11. Is it not 11 or 12? It's 12. I'm tripping. Once I have the canvas set to 9 by 12 and the heart is in the center, what I'm going to do is create a new layer underneath the heart. So there's going to be this new layer icon down here. That new layer I'm going to make solid white. Once I have the solid background set, I am going to go get the sampled color code, which is the darker tone from the two colors that I use for the brand. And I'm going to come back to Photoshop. And we're going to create a color overlay over the image. Make sure that transparent image layer is selected. And then right when we click on the color option, we're going to paste that color code. Again, you can use that website that I shared, those two websites that I shared with you earlier, for options and suggestions on colors. This is what I want to achieve for the very first version of the artwork I'll be creating for my shirts for my store. And so the second color, we're going to go back and get this color code right here. You could also open this in Photoshop and sample it. I prefer to do it this way because now I know I have the exact color code. And then what I'm going to do here is, let's see. I'm going to use the wand tool, which again, the keyboard shortcut for this one is different. It's W in Photoshop versus Y in Illustrator. Once you have the wand, you're going to select outside the heart. Now, it's selecting outside the heart. In some cases, it might be selecting other areas. That might be because you have contiguous selected. So let's try to deselect it and see what happens. If I deselect it, it's going to select that space everywhere. So if it was a color, it would select that color everywhere that color shows up. We're going to deselect by clicking outside of the actual workspace area. We're then going to select around the heart. And where else do we need to select? We need to select inside this like little hoop area. Again, this is areas that I want to select, which I'm going to flip select. I don't know how else to describe it, but you're going to see exactly what I mean. So I'm going to select the inverse of what I selected, which will ultimately just select the shape of the heart. Let's go ahead and select inverse. So now, if you can see, there's no selection around anywhere else but the heart. We're going to create a new layer. And we're going to, again, hit Control Backspace in that new layer. You don't see anything, but something happened. It's added a fill of that background color there. If I did Alt Backspace, you would see it added the foreground color. But let's go back. So once I know that color has been added there, I'm going to also add a color overlay. And I want to add that color code that I did earlier. Bam, bam. Now my heart is colored in my brand colors. I want to zoom in to see if there's any flaws in the edges. So I'm going to turn this dark. And this is what I mean. If you zoom in, you might not be able to see it, but sometimes the fill color gets exposed underneath. And one of the ways that I fix this is by using two methods. I use the select mask to kind of trim off those areas, or I actually convert this to a smart object and then I add a stroke around it. So let's do the select mask area where I'm going to trim those areas. So I'm going to select the outside and the little area inside, and we're going to select inverse, and then we're going to select mask. Select and mask, and we're going to reduce this opacity to 50%. Make sure you select the overlay. It might have you in these other options, but click overlay. That way you have that red tone. If it's not red, you can click color and change it to red. But then we're going to come down here and we're going to change some of these settings. So let's try to shift edge. I'm going to zoom in. Let's shift edge. Okay, so it's very subtle, but okay, let's zoom in all the way. When I shift the edge to -100, it gets even tighter, which is what I want. I want to be able to get tight in and then trim that part out. And then, so that's -100%. What I'm also going to increase is the feather by 0.02. And then I'm also going to increase the smooth by, let's do 2. And once I have that done, I'm going to hit selection. And then I'm going to create new layer with mask and click OK. And we're going to see what happened. Okay. So now compared to earlier where I had the yellow showing like on the edges, now if I disable it, you'll see it kind of shows up. But now if I enable that layer mask, you'll see that it trimmed that area. So that's a way that I clean up the artwork even more. That way I don't have that undertone or undercolor showing up on the exterior of the actual line artwork that I want. The next part that I am going to work on is adding some highlights to make the artwork a bit more lively. It's already, I think, interesting enough just on the artwork itself, because it's drawing attention with all the details and the movement and the structure of how it's created. So someone will see this and really take a minute to look at to see what's going on, but I want to take it another level. And the way that I'm going to do that is, so now I have this layer of the background color, foreground color. All right. We're going to delete this one. We don't need this extra layer. It's a good practice to name these, or base, and then contour, and BG, which we're not really going to need. We can turn this off, but for now, we're going to keep it on. When we're getting ready to export, we'll turn this off. That way we have a transparent file, which we'll be able to export PNG or PDF, depending on who you're using as a printer or manufacturer to get your merch produced. In my case, a PNG file will be enough because I am using a print-on-demand company, which helps me print and manufacture the products to be able to ship off to whoever's supporting my art. So, okay, let's get into this. I'm going to create a new layer, and with my fancy dandy tablet pen, I also use a Wacom tablet, but you can feel free to use whatever brand you decide to. And I'm going to select this heart shape, which is going to select the overall shape right here. I already have the new layer. I'm going to come to the brush option, make sure my foreground color is white. I'm going to come here, make sure it's hard, round, pressure. Also going to come to the brush settings. Now, again, with the layout, you might need to, I have a preset painting interface set up, but you might be able to use essentials or photography. I'm going to reset it. So there's a whole different ways where you can do it. You can create a new workspace and save it. You can add certain features to this area right here and then save it. It's your preference. I am going to open the brush settings and select the shape. Oops. And then on the highlight section, what I'm going to do is select this layer. I'm going to zoom in, and then beneath the eye, I'm going to add some white to kind of give it a different feeling, a different mood, I would say. And then I'm going to add some highlight to the cherries right here. And in some cases, when I erase, I'm going to work on doing this throughout the entire piece. I want the highlights to be primarily on the left side. So wherever I'm going to be adding them, I'm going to think about how it works in a composition. Like, for example, here on this side. And I'm going to erase the areas that I don't want. And let's see, right here too. And let's do the umbrella. Ooh. I'm gonna do it right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed through this and then just share with you guys the final look. All right, so for this first version of the artwork is complete. So I'm going to go ahead and save it as red and gold. I am going to create a red and white version. So I'm just going to change this color to white, and then we're going to change the highlights to yellow. So I'm going to need to go back to that color. I'm going to sample this color again. So copy that color code, go back to Photoshop, and then the highlight, we're going to add a color overlay of yellow to it. So you see what I just did there? So now this is a white heart with the yellow on there. The only thing I don't know if I'm quite feeling is the eye, so I'm going to actually erase part of it. So where's my pen? I'm going to zoom here, and I'm going to just erase this part right here, this part right here, and then I'm actually gonna draw on this layer, which I added the color overlay on to make the actual eye yellow. Okay, I feel better about it now. So just like subtle changes like that. So this is the second version of it. So I'm going to save this as the white and red, or red and white. Let's try changing this red to yellow. I don't know if I'm going to be filling this. And then let's try the base color. Nope, I am not going to be filling this. So maybe black. I'm not filling it either. It gives this negative effect. This is a case where I feel like in design it doesn't necessarily work, not unless you're going to be doing this on like a box or packaging of some sort, where it's intended to give you that inverted feel in our direction. So since I'm not filling this, I'm not even going to move forward and proceed with this. Now, the other thought that I had was creating something that was black and yellow. Let's change the background color to white. This is pretty cool too. So let's do this. Let's turn. Might be too strong. Let's go back to the brand colors. Let's check this. Back to Photoshop. Oops. Oopsie daisy. And then I'm gonna change this base color to that red. And let's see. This might be cool, but I don't know. I'm not really feeling the black. And some people may, but let's try something more a darker red, not 100% black. So this is dark enough to give a contrast and for it to work. And the highlights are still good, but I feel like, let's see, I'm going to open, let's save this as a burgundy, and I'm going to open all three of them. This is one of the reasons I like, over the years, I've learned to really love Photoshop because it makes life so much easier in so many ways. And yeah. Okay. So looking at all these, it comes down to a matter of preference of what you really like. I think all three of them work, and I may end up adding all three of them to the merge store. Individuals are going to have preferences. For me right now, sitting and looking at all three of these, I think the middle one is calling my name, and I'm definitely going to get a shirt made with that one, with the majority golden yellow and then the red contour. I also really like this one. This one's a bit dark, but I'm feeling it. I am feeling it. It gets lost in the dark background, but on a white, it's beautiful. And even on, like, let's say a red background, it all comes down to the mood you're in that you're going to want to order these shirts or even wear them. So these are the final results from the 3 versions that I shared with you guys. All 3 of these designs are now available on the Branding Design Pro / Kendall Lewis shop. The link to the shirts will be available in the description. If you'd like to support this creative business, go ahead and order one of these t-shirts. And if you're wearing them somewhere, take a photo and email them to me. I'll be sure to include them in a blog once I've received enough photos from individuals wearing the shirts out in public or at an event of some sort. Thank you for watching the tutorial. I hope you've learned something amazing that you can also apply to your own creative business or even just to promote your brand long-term as well, because who doesn't like graphic tees? I don't know. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and turn on the notification bell for future tutorials like this, because it's only about to get more spicy.